We've let these chill in the fridge and now we're ready to place them onto our polystyrofoam ball. The first thing we're going to do is apply a coat of our green buttercream. This helps to hide the styrofoam ball and it also helps to apply a glue so that these will actually stick on. So what we're going to do is apply it only part way up. I'm not going to go the whole way, and the reason is that you'll have nothing to hold on to. So you're not going to be able to put it all together. So I'm just going about halfway up and you'll get a perfect match for this colour. Working your way all the way around, because when we apply these we're going to apply them in rows around. Don't worry too much if you get any on the bowl because you can always clean that up later. There we go. So it's not too sheer. You can't really see the white poking through. Get rid of that green off our hands. What we're going to do is we need to poke it with some toothpicks that will help to structurally support our cupcakes. Now, if you're unsure of where to place it, how high up to go, basically what you want to do is draw yourself a little circle. It's not a very good circle, but it gives you a bit of a guide. And you know, that's roughly the size of the bottom of a cupcake. So if I was to pierce straight through the center of that, that should be a fairly good height. Now, the other thing to be mindful of is to make sure that that toothpick is not going to be seen through the cupcake. So you don't want to push it in and have it protruding too much, or it's actually going to poke through your icing and you're going to see it in your finished product. Now, first go around, we're aiming to get around 13 of these mini cupcakes on there, and we need to do something extra just with our first row because it is almost defying gravity. So what we're going to do is apply a little bit more of our green buttercream, and then we're going to poke it into the toothpick. Give it a little wriggle and you can see it lined up pretty perfectly with that circle that we made. As you get better, you won't need to do that for yourself, but when you're beginning, just to give yourself a marker so you have a rough idea, poke through, make sure you get the toothpick in far enough that it won't be seen. Take the base of your cupcake, apply a little bit more of our buttercream, place it on and give a little wriggle. Now we're getting a little bit closer to the end. So this is where, for our final few, just to make sure that we're on the right track, I like to take a couple of them, and you can see how they're all different sizes. There is some that are bigger than others. So what you want to do is basically try to size it up and see if they're going to fit nicely into it. Now what we're going to do is take a quick look. There's a couple of spots where we might need a little bit more of our green, but other than that, we're good to go for our next row. So we're going to get a few more of ours organised. We can start to get a little bit faster with this. We don't need to apply any to the bottom of our cupcakes now because they're not hanging over the edge of something anymore. So we can start to put a few in at a time. Still keeping the same spacing between each other. Don't worry too much about whether they're in between the spaces of the bottom row because you are only going to end up with about 10 or 11 on this row. So they're never going to continue to stagger equally. So don't stress about what it's doing compared to the row underneath. Just make sure that they're staying nice and close to each other from now on. Nice and easy. Now, it's very stable at this point, so what we can go ahead and do is just apply the green all over the top now. We don't need to leave a space. So now we're getting a little bit closer. We'll take a look and see what we might be able to do. If you have a look through your cupcakes, you'll usually find some that are a little bit smaller than others. So I'm going to try and pinch 3 of the smaller ones and see if we can fit 3 nice and snug around here. There we go. Here you can push them out just a little bit to get one in. Okay, now we have a space on top. Usually what happens on the top is that there's enough space for 1, 2 or 3. So you can see here it's a fairly big space, but it still won't fit any more than the 1. So what I aim to do with this is find the biggest, most full one that you have. So for me, this one is really nice and full. You can see here that that's going to fit really, really nicely. So we're going to place our toothpick and just slot that directly on top. Give it a little push, make sure it's in there, and then it's all set ready for leaves.